Okay. So now we'll to go to the different steps in media preparation, okay? So first we'll have your calculations. For calculations, of course, your agar, mga good guys, they are packed in powder. Alright, so we have to determine first the amount of medium that we need to create. Alright, so example, we have a problem here. 10 plates daw makonki atong gamiton. So first we have to determine how much volume will one Petri dish hold. So it's about 15 ml, okay? 15 ml. Alright, so first one is we need to determine the total volume. So how do we determine? We just multiply the total number of plates to be created by the volume of each Petri dish. So that's total volume is equal to 10 times 15. And that's equal to 150 ml. Okay, now we have your total volume. Next, we determine the amount of medium used. Okay, now in your container sa agar, mga good guys, sa kilid ana na instructions from the manufacturers on how much agar to dissolve in a certain volume, okay? So example, for makonki daw, there's 49.53 grams per 1,000 ml. So 49.53 grams per 1,000 ml. So always in ml, guys. So if given is liters, deciliters, always convert, okay? Alright. Equals, ratio and proportion lang. Since we don't know the amount, okay, grams, over, since kabulo naman tas total volume, muna siya ito ibutang diri, 150 ml. So you need to find the value of x, di ba? Pangunta na to si x, char. Okay, so ato na siyang i-cross multiply, alright? So 49.53 grams times 150 ml is equal to 1,000 ml times x. Okay? So you want to determine x, so you divide this by 1,000 ml, divide both sides by 1,000 ml, and cancel like terms, so you're left with grams. X, therefore, is equal to 7.4295 grams. Oh, mental math. Charot lang. Okay, so 7.4295 grams. Okay? I hope clear lang ang solution. Shortcut na di siya. Okay? So, muna siya ang amount of makonki na imong kailangang i-weigh na i-dissolve siya og 150 ml na volume. Okay? Alright. So, for kay Mother Malu, which is the queen of all culture media, diba? Dili niya gina-exact na 7.4295 example. Yan ang pakapinan gamay. Because for her, basin daw na yung mga discrepancy sa pag-dispense, at least magani, na ay marag pakapin gamay. Okay? So, in reality na siya. But for calculations, muna siya, guys. I hope this is clear, okay? Alright. Next, for weighing, how do we weigh? We use an electronic balance. This is called critical measurement. So, sa electronic balance, ito na siyang butangan, hanigan o paper or aluminum foil, and then dito i-dispense ang powder. Alright? And, how do we, after dispensing, we put it in a beaker ba or an Erlenmeyer flask, and then we dissolve it using a graduated cylinder na gi-measure na ang volume, and always ang water na gamiton is distilled or deionized water. Always yun, ha? We don't use tap water because again, tap water has a lot of minerals or substances that could affect the culture media. Okay? Alright, so deionized distilled water. For dissolving, we usually use a stirring rod or automatic mixer. And for broth and liquid media, since wala man siya agar, we don't need to heat it. But for semi-solid and solid, we heat it to about greater than 50 degrees Celsius. Now, we can use the microwave. Again, we can use a microwave for that. But in AK, what we do is, kay Mother Malu, ano na siya kalan, and then naay kaldero na naay tubig, and then pabulkalan ng tubig, and then ibutang dito ang Erlenmeyer flask. Or, ibutang ang Erlenmeyer flask sa naay water, and then mahit na siya. Dira niya gina-dissolve. Okay? And if ang pH mangani is to be adjusted, we use titration. And if yung culture medium is heat sensitive, dili siya pwedeng autoclave, we use filtration. So a good example of a culture medium na heat sensitive is urea broth. Okay? And recall sa atong sterilization disinfection na discussion, right? Filtration. For liquid, we use cellulose acetate. And for air, we use HEPA filter. High efficiency particulate air. Okay, next we'll now go to dispensing or distribution. Now, again, it could be critical or exact or estimated. When we say critical, like each plate good, kaya 15 ml, like hindi mo gina-measure ba. Pero pwede mo siyang estimated, usually, that's what we do in AK form. And plugging of tubes, it could be screw cap or cotton plug. Mostly sa akong as I can remember, they use screw cap tubes sa mga hospitals, pero na siya pa mag-cotton plug. And sa AK, cotton plug. And please take note before sterilization, tube media, alright, if ang media nimo is butang sa tube, the media should be first put into the tube and all together silang sterilized. Okay, whereas if plated, sterilize mo na ang plate, ang Petri dish, and then after sterilization, dito na ibutan ang media. Okay, I do hope that's clear. Again, that's the difference between sterilization sa tube media and plated media. Okay? Alright. Now for sterilization, of course, what we use is autoclaving. I'm sure, and I do hope you're all memorized na sa mga parameters ha. At what temperature? 121 degrees Celsius for how many minutes? 15 minutes. And at what pressure? 15 psi. Okay? And rule of thumb, no loosen caps before autoclaving. And as you can see, dapat dili po sila buot kayo sa pagbutang. Okay? Kaya dili siya ma-penetrate sa steam if go tra kayo, diba? If go tra kayo, dili siya ma-penetrate. Okay, anyway. Alright. So again, it should be well packed, loosely packed na yun para ma-penetrate siya well sa steam. Okay? Alright, para ma-penetrate well. Okay, alright. And loosen caps for autoclaving para ang pressure maka-release lang. Okay. Alright, next is for sterility check. Now, what do you mean by sterility check? Diba? We mentioned that your culture media should always be sterile. Okay, so how do we determine its sterility? Sa usa ka batch of media na mong gigamit, always you get one random plate or one random tube from the batch of media na mong create, and then finally, mo na buhaton is mo na siyang incubate for 24 hours. Now, after 24 hours, if na magani growth ato na plate or tube, then it means na your everything or all of the culture media ng gigama is contaminated. So you don't use them. You make lava. You dispose all of them. Okay? Alright. But if sterile na siya, meaning no growth after 24 hours, then it's sterile. Pwede na siya gamitin. Okay? For incubation, please take note. Ang plates are inverted and the tubes are upright naman. Kinsa magbugo na lang yun na mag-incubate ang tubes na inverted, no? Di ba? Yabo na ang broth. So for plates, always inverted. Why? Because 9 times magod na gikan sa ref ang culture media, na moisture na ma-create. Okay, so if dili siya upright or dili siya inverted, pwedeng maka-affect yung mga moisture sa culture media sa growth sa kano. So at least magana inverted siya, the moisture will go na sa cover. Okay, dili sa culture media mismo. Okay, alright. And again, sterile if no growth after 24 hours. And last, for storage, we use the refrigerator, of course. For position, both of them are upright now. Okay, in the position. Okay, line up in the position. Anyway, alright, so again, avoid freezing. Hindi tayo magutang sa freezer because ice crystals can damage the media. Okay, so sa ref lang 2 to 4 degrees Celsius sa chiller ba or sa body sa ref mismo dito sa freezer. Okay, so dito ref for food we have separate refrigerators for these culture media sa 18. And lastly, for performance check, what do you mean performance check? So example, let's say gama ka culture media na makonki agar. Now you want to check its performance. So of course, you culture a known lactose fermenter, let's say, and a known non-lactose fermenter. So example, E. coli, lactose fermenter, salmonella, non-lactose fermenter. You want to incubate, so therefore dapat, pagkaugma, ang imuhang results, your E. coli should be color pink, colonies, and your salmonella should be colorless. Because again, if dili magani mao, then your makonki agar is faulty, it's not working well. So you cannot use it. Okay, that's the point of performance check. Alright, now we go on to culture media selection. How do we select culture media? Now, culture media selection is dependent on the type of specimen that you receive and the organism or the pathogen that is most likely involved in the disease. Okay, so you look into those types on those considerations. So example, if a specimen is stool, then you select culture media that are appropriate for stool specimens. And then if fastidious maganing organisms, for example, or your specimens may contain fastidious organisms, then your culture media should include culture media that can support their growth. Okay. And next point also, if your specimens come from an area na naghang normal flora or normal microbiota, then your culture media should you should include culture media that would suppress the growth of this normal microbiota and let the pathogen grow lang. Example, let's say you receive a stool culture, and again, recall stool culture, your stool has a lot of gram-negative Enterobacteriaceae. Now, maybe you're thinking na dili mao ang nag-cause sa disease. What if it's Clostridium difficile or difficile? C. difficile can cause pseudomembranous enterocolitis. So usually stool po na specimen. Let's say mo ni siya ang imuhang pathogen ko no. So of course, you want to suppress the growth of those gram-neg Enterobacteriaceae, the normal flora, and let this grow. So magbutang ka culture media na makasuppress ato or selected lang for gram-positive since gram-positive ang Clostridium. So an example of that or culture media is this, Columbia choline aldehydic acid agar. Choline aldehydic acid, these are antibiotics that can suppress the growth of gram-negative organisms. Okay? And chocolate agar, it's for fastidious organisms. Okay? So please take note. Alright. Next part, if several plates will be inoculated, the labeled media should be arranged in order, beginning with the most enriched to the most selective. Okay? Alright. Because again, you know, you have to remember that most enriched can support a lot of organisms. And most selective can, mas specific na siya. Okay? So, please take note, wala siya arrangement. Okay? And we also have what we call routine primary plating media. Routine primary plating media meaning these are the plating media that you will use initially pag abot sa specimen. Okay? So first is of course you should have a non-selective agar plate, meaning not you mo sang patubutan ng kagaw, okay? Sa specimen. Next you have your enriched medium for fastidious, of course, because if your specimen may contain fastidious organisms, then the culture media should have fastidious, or can support the growth of fastidious organisms. Next, selective differential for enteric gram-neg, so example maconchi, yes. Next, you have your for gram-positive organisms, selective medium for gram-positive organisms, especially if mixed gram-positive, gram-negative, example C. difficile, katawa example ganina. Next, you have also additional selective media for enrichment growth. Example, you want to culture Vibrio, okay? So again, so the enrichment media of choice for Vibrio, APW. Culture media of choice for Vibrio, TCBS. And the last one is of course broth medium for these type of specimens. Now, why do we have to have a broth medium for that? Because these type of specimens are difficult to acquire. Number two, they can also deteriorate easily. Okay, so munang protocol usually sa lab, depende po sa lab, when we receive this type of specimens, ato na siya ibutang broth para ato sa padamihon ang kagaw, alright, also, and para if naman gani additional testing or further testing in the future, you have a backup broth for that. So dito na kamukuha og specimen. Okay, because again, these specimens are hard to or difficult to acquire and easily sila mo deteriorate. Okay, alright. And then for the last part, these are just a summary of tabular summary of all, not all, but most of the most common mga routine culture media and routine backte. So please take note na yung mga culture media na nasa sa ngalan, kagaw na ilang gina-isolate. So example, Burkholderia cepacia, that's for Burkholderia cepacia. Campylobacter, Campylobacter, that's for Campylobacter. Borded dengue for Bordetella pertussis, parapertussis. And BCYE, please take note, buffered charcoal yeast extract agar, that's for Legionella. Sa intro to micropalangdaan na lecture, I've already told you na, you know, it's good na ma-familiarize mo ani ng mga names because when we go to bacteriology, which is now, usually if we talk tag mga culture media, we use lang the acronyms. Okay? We don't usually spell them out, kitag asking ngalan. Okay? So it's good that you're familiarized now with these acronyms. Okay? Alright. Next, please take note, cefoperazone, vancomycin, and poteracin. These are types of antibiotics. Same cefsulodine, ergazin, and rubiosin. So, ang CBA, it's for Campylobacter. CIN, bullseye colonies for CIN. It's ganito. Bullseye colonies in CIN, Yersinia enterocolitica, Pelipum aeromonas. Alright. Chocolate agar, fastidious, chromogenic. Chromogenic is again, meaning sa culture media palandaan, sa colonies, scholars sa colonies palandaan, ma-identify na mo ang kagaw. Yes, that's chromogenic. Okay, CNA, EMB, eosin methylene blue or levine. Again, greenish metallic sheen on EMB, that's E. coli. Alright. Okay, HE agar, don't forget mag-chika na tayo sa gram-neck stool culture. Alright. Macaulay agar again, and Macaulay sorbitol. Please do not get confused with these two. Ang sorbitol macaulay is specifically region for the isolation of E. coli 0157H7, which is a serotype of E. coli, a type of E. coli, or also known as enterohemorrhagic E. coli. Other E. coli's magod, or other serotypes of E. coli are sorbitol fermenters, except lang for E. coli 0157H7. So, other E. coli serotypes, sa sorbitol macaulay, they are pink colonies, but for 0157H7, they are colorless, kay non-fermenter man siya sorbitol. And MS8 you have for Staphylococcus species. Staphylococcus aureus, yellow colonies on MS8. And last slide, you have NYC agar, one of the many culture media for Neisseria gonorrhoeae. I believe sa lecture na i-discuss naman tayo, the different culture media for Neisseria gonorrhoeae. Pabibo ang Neisseria gonorrhoeae, na pa siya other culture media. But an example is NYC. They're gonna silang own components like antibiotics food. Rican low, it's still for Bordetella. Usually for Bordetella pertussis and parapertussis, the main culture media itong gamiton is Bordet Gengu and Rican low. Alright. Shadler Spiro, that's for Campylobacter. Salinite growth again for Salmonella. Salmonella shigella, by the name itself. And Streptococcal, wag na mag-isip, for Streptococcus species. Alright. So that's the end of our culture media preparation lecture. It's quite lengthy. I do hope na medyo na-clear lang. So again, kinsa tong media of choice for chlamydia, McCoy cells. Kinsa tong kailangan i-culture sa foot pads of armadillo, Mycobacterium leprae, causative agent of leprosy and Hansen's disease. Okay. Bullseye colonies on CIN, Yersinia enteropolitica or Aeromonas. And again, you have greenish metallic sheen on EMB, you have E. coli. Okay, so again, that's it for culture media prep. Again, medyo, I hope na it's a review na of what I've discussed sa intro to micro. So again, you know, it's good that you're all familiar with this. Again, if you have any clarifications, feel free to inform or chat me. Okay, so I'll see you again. I hope to see you in our next lecture sa bacteriology. Medyo sa Paujo ko na adlaw na ginagor na ko ni. Ikaupat na ako ni sa ginagor, guys. Promise, mamuha ko. But anyway, I do hope na nag-gets lang, alright? And keep safe, guys. Have a great day and drink your water. Alright.